With the release of Disney Plus back in November 2019, the streaming service needed a high-profile name to feature with its launch. That ultimately came to be The Mandalorian, the first live-action series set within the Star Wars universe. The reception this series got was huge, spawning 3 seasons of television, a Boba Fett-focused spin-off series, and now in 2026, a theatrically released film. It is so rare to see a TV show get the cinematic treatment, yet regardless, here we are. So today I'm going to be ranking that newly released film, The Mandalorian and Grogu, alongside 3 seasons of The Mandalorian show as well. I don't usually rank movies alongside seasons of TV, but this time it feels quite appropriate, so let's get started. In at last place, I actually do have the newly released film, The Mandalorian and Grogu, and to be honest, it is fun. If you're going into this expecting fun, you will get that, and especially if you're someone who is part of the younger audience, or you've gone to the cinema with a kid or something, you'll have fun in that regard, but past that, there are plenty of flaws. Now, where there is fun, it is from the usual antics we got throughout the series, so the side quest adventures of the 2 titular characters, seeing what sort of things they get up to in these said scenarios, and you get that in this movie here, which is kind of the issue. The film feels like multiple episodes stitched together in a way which just doesn't really justify needing to be a film. I'm not sure if it is the case, but it does feel like a season of television which was reworked into a film. Because of this, you just get tonal whiplash, very abrupt ending to sequences, and just some very out of place moments which would make sense within a season, but in a film format it just sticks out like a sore thumb. Furthermore, because of this, it just feels as though it oddly rushes through things whilst also just feeling extremely bloated. I don't exaggerate when I say half an hour of this film could be cut, but it would work so much better as a 90-minute film. Not to mention the dialogue just feels very lazy in areas, very repetitive, and for the characters, they don't really get any development, so it just feels a bit of like a pointless film in the end. Not much happens. It's just more of what you've been used to with any little justification for being made as a film. The weakest season of The Mandalorian, Season 3, also struggles with similar issues. There's an overall inconsistent tone which stems from sloppy writing. An 8-episode season isn't that long, it's a good amount of time to develop a story without having to fill in any gaps, yet Season 3 struggles to do so. There is way too many episodes devoted to filler side quests, which in itself just feel like cameo fests from celebrities or just pointless storylines. And ultimately, when it does focus on its core story, it just feels rushed, which is frustrating given how much time they wasted on irrelevant content. Because of the tonal whiplash, it is hard to latch on to what is actually happening at the center of this season. On paper, an entire season devoted to the Mandalorians and their planet just should be exciting, but it isn't the case. It's more of the same with the familiarity of side quests, still good action and visuals, but centrally there is just not as much as there should be. I mentioned in the intro that The Mandalorian was the first live-action Star Wars series, and what a season to kick off with as well. Given the flaws of the sequel trilogy, this just feels like a fresh start whilst also feeling very true to the universe. It takes place in a small part of the universe where it feels lived in and part of what has come before, but it just tells an entirely fresh story and focuses on new characters who are interesting. It's starting to become the norm for big franchises on television, but the production value is insane, with huge scale action and special effects to a convincing degree that you'd see in the cinemas. The general premise is familiar. In fact, we've seen Pedro Pascal do it on The Last of Us. Yeah, it is executed well, and when this sort of story is done justice, it is an easy sell and hard not to enjoy. Now take everything I said about Season 1 and you can apply it to Season 2, yet everything is built upon. There are more attachments to the wider universe for fans to enjoy, which is done in a satisfying way. It's not forced fan service, it makes sense to the plot, and the way it's executed is very satisfying. Season 1 was more or less about establishing these new characters and this new series as well, so it had quite a slow pace, which was beneficial. Season 2 wisely dials that up and brings in some more urgency and some more stakes, which make for a more compelling season thanks to what the previous one had set up. The aforementioned production value and action still delivers here, some absolutely thrilling sequences, making this one of the stronger additions to the Star Wars franchise in the past few years. So that was my ranking of all 3 seasons of The Mandalorian, as well as the newly released Mandalorian film. Let me know what your ranking would be down below. I was going to cover The Mandalorian and Grogu alongside the other Star Wars films, yet I've just run out of time, so I'm going to save that ranking for Starfighter releasing next year, so it gives me more time to prep and deliver a ranking I'm more proud of. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I also hope to see you in my next video as well.